tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to build this simple application with the knowledge that we have learned in our previous lecture about room database, right? So we're going to use room database and also another some other Android architecture components like ViewModel, LiveData to create this simple note keeping application, which is divided in actually in the activity is divided into two sections. The top level fragment consisting of a count nodes fragment, that is this section, which consists of button, edit text, and the text view. So your button will help you to add the notes to your application, and you just create your add the notes in your edit text, and this text view will be updated with the number of notes that is added. Okay, and so the button section consists of a note list fragment, which consists of the simple recycle view displaying all the list of notes that you have added. Okay, so this is a simple application that we are going to do. So yeah, without wasting any time, let's go right to it, and let me show you also my readme where we have are going to create a simple shopping notes app with the UI being split into two: top button in portrait mode and left right in the landscape mode. The first tab will display the number of notes, a text field, and a button. As I told you, every time the button is pressed, a note will be added with the text placed in the text field. So the second half will display the list of notes. Already we know that. So for each half you will have a view model. So for each section we will have its particular view model, and we should define a repository that will be used on top of the room database to access our data. So we should also define a room database that will hold our notes. Okay, so the notes entity will have the attributes like the ID is the primary key and the text, that is the its field, right? So let's start and jump to creating this application. But before that, always be careful with the dependencies that we have to add. So our dependencies will be consisting of, for our room will be this one. The dependencies for our view model will be this one. Of dependencies for our live data will be this one. So it will be consisting of three important dependencies that you have to consider for implementing this Android architecture components. Okay, so let me go to my read. Okay, so we start with the room integration by creating the entity, right? So let's go and create our first entity, that is our notes, and start implementing our database, right? So first thing in the room, I will be creating an entity called note. It is our data class. So our note entity will be consisting of obviously we will have to start with the entity, and table name will be our notes, and our primary key will be like ID, and our text string. Here we have our primary key auto generated to true, and column info, which is our name will be the ID, and similarly we also have a column info with the name to the text. Okay, so this is our entity for our application. And what next? Now that's next we need to create our notes DAO, which is our interface. So it's called note DAO. Obviously your DAO will obviously have an annotation of DAO, and so we will this nodes DAO actually will consist of all the CRUD operations that we are going to perform with this database. So our CRUD operations, like that is create, read, update, and delete operations that we are going to use is insert DAO, like insert note for we're gonna load nodes that will be pretty much returning live data. Okay, live data is the data stream. if you have not any knowledge about Android architecture combos like ViewModel and LiveData, then you can just follow my previous lecture videos, guys. Okay, so LiveData, and so it's just gonna return the int of number of nodes count, right? So here we insert and in case of on conflict, you just replace it on conflict strategy, replace, right? So on when you load nodes, you have to pass the query to the database saying select from your nodes table, right? Yeah, nodes table, right? So and another query that we have to do for loading our nodes count is you just count it, right? So select you count all from your nodes table, right? So this is our simple DAO interface, and then our next step is to create our database. So let's create our database for our node. So it's like a node nodes database. So our node database obviously will have a database annotation, right? And with the entities that we're gonna pass is only one entity, that is a like node sorry class. Then also we need to provide our version for this database is 1. Obviously this database is an abstract class, which is pretty much also using the room database, inheriting room database. We also have to extract a node DAO interface, like node DAO, right? Okay, so here we are good to go with the room implementation. So let's go to my readme file and see what's next we have to do. So we have started with the room integration in creating our entity DAO database methods. For DAO and query, we did some queries, right, for creating and returning directly the live data object, so that can be observed directly, notified if the data changes. So now we define the template for our repositories. So inside our data subfolder, we create a repository and repository implementation, right? So let's first create the repository. It will be the node repository, and this it's like an interface, guys, sorry, it's an interface, and this interface will consisting of all the CRUD operation methods that we will be implementing, right? So we'll have get all node. So we'll have data that will be returning a list of node, and we'll have count returning data, the count in the int, right? So also now what we have to do, we have to implement the repository. The repository will have one reference to the DAO object we defined previously. The code for inserting the data must be moved to a separate thread. So so code must be moved to the separate thread, so that we have to use the executors. But let's create the node repository implementation. Repository implementation class. This will be obviously in implementing the interface called node repository, right. So what we have to do, we have to implement the members, and now we have to implement the all the CRUD operations, right? So as I told you, we also need to use the executor. So private val executor. We also need our node DAO. So here what we have to do, we have to execute and use the node DAO to insert the node that you have passed. Okay, and the second thing is we get the nodes, we return here the nodes DAO load nodes, and finally here we'll have also return nodes DAO and load node count. Okay, so here is a simple implementation of a nodes repository. We are using executor to pretty much, as I see you move to the separate thread, right? Inserting the nodes must be moved to the separate thread. Okay, and so what next? Right now we have to create the nodes application class to provide the instance of a repository and database repository, and also the database that will be used across the application. So here if you go out and check out my application for nodes application, what we have to do here, we have to create the instance of a nodes repository and then also the nodes database. Nodes repository. Okay, so here we have to create the instances which will be used across the entire application, but there are some cool way of passing the dependencies into your entire applications, just declaring ones and using the passing the dependencies to entire application by using dependency injection, so which will be learning in the future tutorials, right? Thank you guys. And so I will hope that you guys will follow me, so that you will be getting the notification about the new release of the tutorials that I will be publishing. But now let's go and create our nodes database room, database builder, pass the application context with the nodes database and create also the nodes db. Okay, and build it, right? So what next? Now also we need to create our nodes repository implementation, but we need to pass the executors new single thread executor, because as I told you, we to add the insert the items, we have to execute in the new thread. So nodes database, we pass the nodes DAO. Okay, so this is the creation of the nodes application. And just be careful, you have to update your, also if you have new applications, just update in your manifest with your nodes application name, right? So this is important. And now what next? We have to create our view model. So now let's start creating our view models. The first view model will be for our count nodes fragments, right? So count nodes view model. So in this count nodes view model, we're gonna create obviously we need our application, and it's Android view model, passing the application repository. So of application as not application but not repository. Okay, so we'll have now two methods here: insert node. When you click the insert button, right, node repository, insert node, and pass the ID, the text. So we'll also have another get node count live data to update how many nodes has been added, right? Live data, which returns the int, and no repository get node count. Okay, so we have a view model for our count nodes count nodes fragment. Now we need to have another view model for our count node list, right? So node list view model. So it will be pretty much the view model, and here nodes list view model, we'll have just one. Obviously we have to pass the dependency private val node repository function get node list live data, and live data will have a list of node will node repository and get all nodes, right? So this is okay, so we have successfully created our view models. Now let's also update the second step is the view by observing the data stream. Okay, we have to update the thing. So we have to observe our data stream and update our UI. So let's go to our UI, which is first UI is count nodes fragment, right? So we have to import the count nodes view model, and here we observe our data stream and update the UI. So how? Let's go there and update our count nodes fragment on view created. Just need to model dot count live data. We observe with the view lifecycle owner ending fragment count text view, and we update the text using string total and pass the total value, right? And now we also need to when we click the button, we have to set on click listener, insert the node, right? So view model insert node, and but the node will be consisting of the text that is that we insert in the edit text, right? So we have to get the edit text to string, okay, and pass the insert the node. Okay, so this first fragment is okay. So now we have to also update the view for our second fragment, that is node list fragment, and node list fragment consists of the recycle view, and so we just need to pretty much just okay, let me create the view model provider require activity object ViewModel provider factory. So here we have to create and return the node list view model. Okay, we have our require activity application as node application dot node repository st and then we have to get our node list view model. So now we use this view model to get the node list live data and observe this with the view lifecycle owner and update our list recycle view, right? So replace items it. Okay, so our adapter is pretty much our node list adapter is in this way. We just has a simple text view item like view node item, as you can see here, a simple text view. Yeah, that's it guys. And what next? I think we'll pretty much okay. We have updated the view, so we just need to now just check and see if our application is pretty working fine. Yeah, voila, it's working fine. So we add the node. Okay, hi room add node. Okay, hi room it's I am adding my first nodes in my room db. Okay, yeah, so it's pretty working fine, right guys? So this is a simple implementation of room database, and hope you like it. But still we have to as you can see here, so we have to unit test the repository and view model. So let's try to also understand how we can unit test the repository and view model. So for that, let me go to my first the view model. I have two view models, right? So I'm gonna go to my first view model and create the respective test for this one. So I'm gonna add this view model in my unit test, obviously. Okay, and now I'm gonna just try to write the test, right, for our view model. I'm gonna use the runner, our keto JUnit runner. Then our test, before testing we have to do the some setups, right? Set up what we need is we are trying to test the view model, so we're gonna private latent val count nodes view model. We have to mock our application class application, our nodes application. We also have to mock our node repository. Okay, so before, what we have to set up is we have to create the instance of okay, but for here, whenever we call this application notes repository, we have to then return our node repository, that is mocked. Okay, and then our have to instantiate our count nodes view model, that is a count nodes view model, passing the application. Node list view model, why? Okay, yeah, it's a count no view model, sorry guys, it's a stupid mistake. And what else guys, so we have our tester to be written here. The first test we are gonna do is insert node tester, and in this insert nest, let me just close this for the moment. We're gonna test this with the text, my text. Okay, count nodes view model, we insert node with this text, and we just verify if node repository insert node text, this is called. Okay, so let me run this and see if it is pretty working. Yeah, it's pretty working fine guys, right? You see the test is getting passed, test pass 1 of 1. So similarly we can also add another test, function get node count live data. So this time we are gonna also test this one. So we have nodes, it's a mock we have now live data, then we pass of type int. Whenever we call this node repository get node count, then it should return the mock nodes, right? So now the result will be count nodes view model, we have to get node count live data. So we have to now assert equals if nodes will be the result, right? The expected will be the result one. So the nodes, it's our expected one, and this is the result, the result that is returning. So let me test if the expected one is equals to the result that is returning. Yeah, it's true, and the test is passing. So yeah, perfect. So our first view model count nodes count nodes view model test is completely okay. So now we will try to write a node list view model test. Okay, we also will need to write this test. Okay, so not list view model, obviously we have to run with Mockito JUnit runner class. Obviously we need to now inject mocks, let init val node list view model, and we have mock val node repository, and then now we'll write the test for get node list live data. So we're gonna write the list live data. So for our nodes we'll have a mock of nodes. Okay, so our will be of type live data list of nodes. Whenever ever we call this repository nodes repository dot get all nodes. We then return this mock nodes, right? And then obviously we need to the result is a node list LiveData ViewModel get list LiveData. So assert equals, so we have a nodes with the result, right? So this is the only test because we have this only one method. So we'll run the test and yeah, it's pretty working fine. So yeah, everything is working fine as expected. So now finally we need to also write a test for our repository. So let me try to write the test for our repository. Nodes repository, actually not for the interface, but we're gonna write the test for our implementation part. Create test obviously in the unit test. Okay, so we're gonna have to write the test. Obviously we will be using the run with the Mockito JUnit runner class. Then here we have to inject mocks with the eval node repository. We'll also have a mock latent val executor. We also have to mock our latent val node DAO. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we have to insert the node here, right? We're gonna test this insert node. So first we have our mock node of ID is 10 and my text. So do answer. Will answer it arguments as runnable dot run whenever you have an executor. Then you just execute any. So you just answer whenever you execute the executor with anything, okay, then you just have to answer with these arguments, right? And then you have the nodes repository. You insert the node with the node, and you verify that your nodes DAO is inserting the node to node. Okay, so yeah, this is the first test. Yeah, we'll try to run this test if it is pretty working fine. It's not working as expected. Cannot insert a field name type no is a interface, guys. So obviously I made a mistake here. We cannot instantiate the nzmock for interface. It's a implementation, sorry guys. Okay, so let's return the failed test. Okay, now it's working fine. Yeah, so the first test is working fine. So get all nodes, so test. So we'll try to test this one. So we pass the mock, create a mock for our nodes, list of nodes, like data list of node whenever you load the nodes, then we return the nodes. Actually it's the list of nodes, so we have to make it as a nodes. So we have now the result of node repository get all nodes. So assert equals we have our nodes, the expected one will be equals to the actual one, which is the result that is the actual result that is returning, right? So this is our second test. We try to run this test and see if it is working. Yeah, it's also working fine. So finally we also have to test for get nodes count. So we have a count of mock of type live data of type int, because it's the count, nodes count. So whenever you call DAO.load nodes count, then you have to return this count, and you have the result is a nodes repository get node count assert equals. You have to now check if the expected is equals to the actual result that is returning. And let's run this test also, and it's also working. So yeah, everything is pretty working fine, guys. So this is how we also write the unit test for our ViewModel and repository, which is implementing the room database, right? So hope you like this video, guys. Please help me with your support by subscribing me, and if you have any questions, just write me a comment, and yeah, share these videos if you like this video, and if you want your friends to learn and know about this video, just share. Okay, and catch you up in the next lecture, guys. Thank you.